Hello and welcome back to our show, everyone. We're going to be doing an update today on the three-eye Atlas Comet. and we had a lot of interest in in the original podcast that we did, and a lot of questions were asked. So we're going to try to follow it up today with try to answer some questions and provide some updates. And there's some really big updates that have come out today that Patricia's made me aware of. So, Patricia, where do you want to start?
Yeah, so on our last talk, we had mentioned that the images from the James Webb Telescope were not released, and then they were released just a couple hours after our talk.
Hmm.
And so we have some new information about Three Eye Atlas that is very intriguing. Um, Couple of things is that the object is much larger than we had thought, right, Ron?
Yes. Well, some people are saying that it's almost it could be as big as half the size of the sun, not including the nucleus. We're going to talk about the whole cluster that's surrounding the nucleus the diameter could be half the size of the sun. So we're going to get into that. And that's pretty big. Something that big entering the solar system, going right through the heart of the solar system. We're going to see here through this 3D uh, representation that we have on the screen how close it gets to some of the planets, including Mars. It is directly opposite to Earth on one stage and also Mercury. So we're going to look at that. But what are some of the other important updates that we're going to cover?
So the size was a big thing for me because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this thing is so massive," right? And we were going to talk
Yes.
about the coma of the object and what that is and what it's made of. Um, then also going with the path of the object, being on the orbital plane, being very interesting. That it's traveling faster than Jupiter.
Uh, so as it comes closer to the sun, the electromagnetic activity surrounding this comet will be like largely increased, magnified, as well as the plasma. So plasma, which contains nanoparticles, which are like dust particles or like nano diamond particles. You could imagine this is like a whole big huge ball of plasma, nanoparticles, pollution, you name it, going through our solar system, passing through Mars, coming fairly close to Earth in relative terms, and it's going to leave behind with it this huge dust storm, which which is electromagnetic. So this could obviously may have an impact on our electrical systems on Earth. So this is not something that we should take lightly. There's not a lot of talk about it at the moment, but once we comprehend how huge this thing is and what may happen, like I don't think there's enough hype about this. What do you think? Or am I overhyping it?
No, I think that the reason why there wasn't a lot of hype from it was because initially they didn't have enough data and they were waiting for this other information. And it's only, within the last day that we started to see different scientists speak about it, that were not talking about it before. They wanted more information, and now we have more information. And now that we have the size factor combined with what the coma is made with, now we
Mm,
have more scientists starting to speak out in concern, namely about what you're talking about, the radioactivity, and the
yeah, we haven't
possibility
mentioned
of
that.
its
Yeah.
effect with the sun.
Yes, it's as it passes or as it gets closer to the sun, it increases in radiation and electromagnetic impact, and that's something huge because something like that's passing through the Earth like a mini sun in terms of its radiation and electromagnetic force can have a huge impact on our Earth, not only on the magnetic pull but also on the whole of our electrical circuits or the electronics on Earth, basically like satellites. internet, and anything that's going through, any waves that are going through the air, or anything that's basically electric can basically
Yes.
be impacted. So we're not
So
going to jump to
even
conclusions, but we can imagine what possible consequences can come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, so when scientists are looking at this with a regular telescope, they aren't seeing that electromagnetic aspect of the object because it's not visible. It's not in our visible spectrum. So even if we were to look at it, once it comes into the sky and we're seeing it at a telescope, we're not going to see that big outer coma of this object. And that is the thing that is enormous. And like you said, it is it's like an electrical storm on the
Yes, that's a
outside of
good way
this
of putting
object.
it. So this is an amazing 3D map here that we have of space, and this is 3i Atlas. We could see the cursor. This is the we're going to see how it travels. This was from March, and it shows 1 second per week. So it's obviously sped up. So this is currently traveling at around 58 kilometers per second. So what we're going to look at now is a representation, it's a 3D model of what's going to happen when it passes through the solar system. It's quite fascinating. It's an amazing model that we found online, and it really shows us in detail what's going to happen. So here we go. Let me find a good position to put it in. So you can see the comet coming in towards the center of the solar system, coming towards Earth, towards the sun. Is that a good position? Let's play it anyway. So you can see that it's moving, and you can see the dates at the bottom. This is how it's moving with respect to time, and you can see the rotations occurring.
Yeah, so it seems
So
like
at
we
the
only picked
moment,
it up in July, so it's just coming right there when we start to
there
see
we
it.
see it now. You can see the rotation now. Look at Mars. Look at Mars. Goes straight by Mars, directly opposite here to Venus. And it's going to, here it's directly opposite to Mercury, and now directly opposite to Earth. So as it passes through Earth, it's still passing through Earth during January. So it's not that far. Look how directly opposite it is to Earth. This is January 2026. So it's a long period of time that it's going to take. It's going to be a few months before it gets out of our, solar system, and it's a few months where it's actually directly opposite to Earth. So it's quite fascinating. Let's go back and see this one again. So
And one
still
thing
here.
about
This is
this
December 19th. Let's look at.
One thing about the object is that they said that it is already increasing in size. And when we have storms that come from the sun itself, that actually heats up this object and makes it larger. So they say that it's actually growing in
Yes,
size the more electromagnetic energy that it gets from the sun. And so as it's coming closer to the sun, it's actually growing in size.
and that's right. And the astrophysicist that we were watching said that it could possibly get even larger than the sun. So this is not the
Oh,
density.
wow.
We're talking about the plasma that's surrounding the nucleus. So it's not a very dense comet. The whole thing, it's not very dense. The actual nucleus is the rock part of it, but the rest of it surrounding it is the nanoparticles, plasma, electromagnetic
Yeah, I mean, the nucleus
activity.
is still 40 miles or 60 kilometers, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
it's still significantly big, but not the size, like you say, of the coma.
So I'm just going through. So this is September. This is in 1 month, less than a month's time. Let's go through this again. I might make it slower. I just want to show it because it's quite fascinating just to look at this map. Okay, so it's past Mars and it's passing Venus here. It's directly opposite to Venus. So we don't know what's going to happen. Like, there's obviously other satellites going, moons around Mars. There's other things in space, and it can obviously have a push and pull reaction to all of the planets and the moons. So we don't really know what's going to happen. And
One of the
I
things
don't
that
think
that
we've experienced something this large going through our solar system before.
yes, yes, we haven't. And the geophysicist said that what will begin to happen is the sun will react. I mean, I guess you have to think about how electricity reacts, right? And you
Yeah.
have an object that's high in its electric output, getting close
Yeah.
to the sun, which is also high in its electric output. And those two things will begin to battle one another, right? And the scientist said that as it gets closer, the sun will start to project its own electric storm in order to fight off what it
Wow.
kind of sees as a danger. I mean, obviously, it's not a person, but that's how the electric system will respond to what it sees as a threat to its own stability.
So there's definitely going to be some reactions taking place, and here's when it's directly in line with Earth, and that started like probably in 2 months' time. It's going. So depending on how big this is, by the time it passes the sun, which some astrophysicists are saying could be double the size, or could be even larger than the sun by the time it passes, in terms of its the whole, what do you call it, the not the nucleus, that the part that's surrounding the
The coma.
nucleus. Yeah, the coma. We're going to look at that in a second. But look, so this is December. Yeah, so it's moving away, but it's still within the solar system, and it's still directly impacting. There will be a pull, like it's gravitational pull of the Earth in some way or another towards the comet, because it's a huge, humongous body that's passing by. So we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, we need to pray that the effects aren't as big.
So the geophysicist was saying that as the object gets closer to the sun, it will increase in size. And so when we see the Atlas kind of pass closest to the sun, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And normally with comets, what you would have is the ice around it melting, right? And you would have a larger tail. But in this case, because the coma is made of this plasma dirt type of gaseous substance, that it's actually going to increase in size. And as it increases in size, it's going to have more electromagnetic effect. And so in a sense, the object becomes more dangerous as that area grows, and it becomes more of a threat in terms of the electric pulses that it could be sending through the solar system and affecting the Earth. And that geophysicist was also of the opinion that it could cause earthquakes. And they had looked at a smaller, that smaller interstellar object called Oumuamua. And it was very small, but some scientists think that it caused the earthquake, a very big earthquake in Mexico.
That's right, which happened just like a day before or a day after it passed. So it was
It happened a day after it was at its closest point to the sun.
There you go. So it's obviously, it could possibly have an impact on, and we know that the impact of our Lord's crucifixion. Obviously, there was some kind of Dr. Yates says it could have been a planet or some kind of a comet or asteroid passing by that caused the planetary, or there was the what's it called? The moon's eclipse, and then the darkness, and then the earthquake as well. There were several events that took place. So
yeah, it's
so
interesting if
it's
you read
interesting,
about Our Lady of Guadalupe too. Our Lady of Guadalupe, the couple of years before it, they had a lot of significant events in the skies that they reported as being comets.
Yes,
Strange
right.
comets in the sky before the time that Our Lady appeared in Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I think that whenever we have significant things happen on the earth that God is involved in, he gives these signs, and
Yeah.
we don't
Well,
know
this
what.
is a major sign, definitely. Even if nothing happens, and hopefully nothing happens on Earth, it is a major sign for people to be aware of, and it's a harbinger of sorts to let us know that this something like this hasn't happened for a long, like they're saying, one every 10,000 years, or. But
Yeah,
look
that's
at
what Abby
this.
Loeb said.
It's passing directly, very close to Jupiter, and before we saw that it passed very close also to Mars. So that's why some people, as we said in our last episode, some people are saying can possibly crash or hit a moon, one of Mars's moons. Look at this. This is in
It is very
October
close.
next month. So it could possibly have a strong impact on the moons of Mars, and also Io, which was a prophecy that we spoke about last time as well, one of the moons of Jupiter. So this
Yeah,
is
one of
hugely
the unusual
significant.
things
Yeah.
about the object with probability is that it is traveling almost exactly on the line of the ecliptic plane or the orbital plane where the planets all travel. So if you just maneuver it slightly, right, so that we
Yeah.
can see the planets kind of from.
On the
Yeah,
orbital
there we go.
plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
very interesting. I mean, think about all the possibilities. If you were to say, "Oh, well, the planets travel around the sun," you would think that they would be on different planes relative to the
It's on
sun,
the
but they're not.
same, yeah,
And
exact
then
same level as the planets. Amazing.
and most comets do not travel. So, I mean, this is a probability if you're talking about 360 degrees. What's the probability of this massive object traveling almost exactly on the same plane is very, unusual.
Oh, extremely unusual. So this is, yeah, it's quite fascinating, and I think it's it's worth our audience knowing a bit more about this, because I think it's a huge event. All right, let's go through quickly the slides that you set up and discuss them. So this will give us a good background as to what's happening, and thanks again for putting these together.
Yep. So I think that, there's a lot of terms that are used when people are talking about astronomy and talking about a comet. And so, for our viewers, just to know what a comet, first, this is a still image here of the comet's orbit, which we see it's actually already past Jupiter. It was only detected by the Atlas system just shortly before passing Jupiter. So we haven't been seeing it very long, even though it's been out there. And it's going to pass, like you
Mm.
said, right by Mars and then out past Jupiter again.
Mm.
And here we have the near infrared imaging as it came from the James Webb Telescope. And this is an image that I created using artificial intelligence, which is the sun on the left and then this object on the right. If you look at the two, the diameter of this object is half the size of the sun. So in its relative size comparison, this is what it would look like if they were sitting next to each other. I mean, the other object is not made of hydrogen like the sun, but in terms of size, it would look like that if it were visible. And then this is a comparison to the planets. You can see how small Earth is in comparison to the sun, and then how small Earth is compared to this object.
Wow.
And then here too for our readers, if they're going to read about the comet or object in the news, just to know that the coma is the outside of the nucleus. Like the nucleus is in the inside, and then the coma is on the outside. The coma is usually made of gas, and then it has a tail. But this object doesn't have a tail; it has a very, very small tail, which makes it very unusual. And one of the scientists we were watching is a geophysicist. He said, we need to comprehend that this thing is coming from a different solar system altogether, and it was birthed in a completely different place under different conditions. And so it is very unusual, and we don't know what to expect from it. And it's different than anything we've ever seen, like you said, Ron, than anything we've ever seen in our solar system.
Yeah, and I want to just emphasize the dust tail and the ion tail. So these are like huge, humongous balls of, pollution, basically. And one of the geophysicists was talking about the nanoparticles being like little diamonds. And you could imagine what would happen if some of these particles would come into the Earth's atmosphere. It'll be chaotic because it will obviously impact our breathing, impact, it will be very bad. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
And,
the plasma itself, so the plasma is the fourth state of matter. And so it is when something becomes ionized and charged. And so we have a bunch of charged particles in the coma, which
yes,
are ready to form something, and that
that's
is
it.
how diamonds are formed. Um, and what was the other object you mentioned? Diamonds and
Nanoparticles
yeah, different types
and
of
dust.
nanoparticles
Yeah.
that are hard that can be formed by that force, the force that is caused by the electricity in those particles or
Mm,
in the plasma.
yeah. So the iron particles, they'll obviously have an electromagnetic impact if those particles were to enter the Earth's atmosphere. That will have a major magnetic impact on the grid, on the power grid on Earth, which could possibly cause. I'm making these assumptions, but could possibly
Yeah, I
cause
think
blackout.
that's possible. I think, at least from the one scientist that I was listening to, is he said that the outer part of the coma has like a light shell to it, um, and that everything is contained
Mm,
by electricity, by the forces of electricity
so
within
the
it.
plasma contains it. It's like a plasma barrier.
But it's growing, right? It's growing and it's attracting. So, I mean, it's like if you had a huge electrical thing explode outside, right? Outside your
Mm,
home, you can be affected by that. Or lightning. Lightning hits stuff.
mm,
Lightning is electricity. Um, and electricity has a huge impact. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't have a huge impact. And even when we look at the solar flares that come out of the sun, again, that's something that we can't like physically see with our eyes, but the solar flares have immense effect on the earth, and it can shut down the
mm,
electricity if you have a huge storm coming
sure.
out of the sun. So the thing that geophysicist was talking about is what is going to be the interaction between this huge coma, which is enormous and getting larger, and then the sun. And are they going to battle back and forth?
Sure.
Um,
So the
and are we
sun
going
will
to
be
have
sending out some, solar particles or solar wind or whatever as a response. So that will be
yes.
there'll be increased solar activity taking place, and that may also have an impact on the planets in some way or another. We don't know how.
Yeah, and you have the magnetic response of the earth and possible earthquakes. There could be things that are in a stable position in regards to the earth, the plate's crust, when it's in a relatively stable position. But if you have slight, magnetic changes, electric changes, maybe not slight, but huge enough
Mm,
that they
yeah,
can impact the earth.
oh, definitely. So
And then they were
these are
also
these are all options. These are all possibilities. Obviously, we're not saying that this is going to happen. We don't know, but these are very strong. Like I think that there could be strong possibilities that something is going to happen. We don't know exactly what, but it doesn't sound good. It does, it sounds ominous.
It does sound ominous, and I suppose we just don't know because we haven't observed this type of object. And so this is like an experiment. um,
Yeah.
that this huge electrically charged object is coming into our universe. I guess we're going to have to see how things react. We don't know. And this is a picture of the orbital plane again to just emphasize how the planets travel on almost a flat plane,
It's
and this
amazing.
comet is only 5 degrees off. It's actually going to
Wow.
exit through the orbital plane on its way out just before it passes Jupiter.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
And this is a confirmation from James Webb Space Telescope. And if you look at the different scales, so if you look at the highest peak, that is CO2, carbon dioxide, and that is the gaseous plasma
Mm,
dirt cloud that we are seeing around the object, and it's what they measured with the James Webb Telescope. It was huge compared to water. They did detect water and
wow.
ice, but at an 8-to-1 ratio.
So, what is the significance of it being carbon dioxide, the large amounts of carbon dioxide?
So
Does that like a sign of the pollution or?
So if you look at the coma of a regular comet, so if you go back, usually you have a solid nucleus made out of ice, and then some other materials, but primarily ice. And then the coma on the outside, well, what you have is made out of gas, but it's usually relatively small. And so if
Mm,
you look at this object, you would expect, let's say that we were to, um, if we were to send out a telescope to measure what objects were in this thing, we would expect
mm,
there to be a good ratio of water and good ratio of other gases. But what this is showing is that there's huge amount of carbon dioxide, which is a measurement of the plasma-like um,
mm.
gaseous cloud that you're referring to.
Wow.
And then here too is another, this is a scatter plot, and it's showing how 3I Atlas is really unusual. If you look at the y-axis that's on the left going up, it is a
Mm,
ratio of carbon dioxide. So, this is
mm.
like
So this is
independent
the
of
carbon
size.
dioxide to water
Yeah,
ratio.
independent of size, what is the ratio of carbon dioxide to oxygen? And 3I Atlas is out as an anomaly, and that other one that was there 2016 was a very small comet. This is an enormous comet with that type of
Yeah.
ratio.
Wow. Okay, this is a good summary.
Yeah, so we have a summary that the nucleus size estimates about 50 kilometers in diameter. The coma size, half the diameter of the sun. The coma is complex, dusty gas, plasmic, and electromagnetic. It is unknown where it came from, and then that way we don't know its total composition because it's not from our solar system. It has a close inclination angle with the ecliptic plane at 5 degrees. The
Mm-hmm.
speed is that it's traveling 58 per second, and they're expecting it to go up to at least 68 per second, which is faster than Mercury.
Kilometers per second, yeah.
Yeah, kilometers per second. And then the perihelion, that is when it's closest to the sun, is on October 29th.
But it will pass Mars earlier. That will be, I think it's earlier, or it's probably, yeah, a bit
Yes,
earlier.
earlier.
Past that. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you look back to the diagram that you had, the 3D diagram that you were showing,
sure. Okay.
I think that that's very interesting because we can kind of visually see the path, and we see that the object comes past Jupiter,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you just slide it just a little bit, yeah, there we go. There we go. So we can see it coming in. It gets awfully close to Mars. It's awfully close to Mars. And then you can see how the sun is swinging around, and then just
Mm.
visually we see the distance getting closer, and
Very
maybe around
close to,
there
yep.
at the end of October, you have it being closest to the sun. So it's heating up, it's heating up, it's heating
Right.
up, and then it's getting larger. And you said that one of the
Yeah, look,
scientists
this
said
is
that it
where
could
it's
get
pretty
as
close to
large
the
as the
sun
sun in
here.
terms of its
Yes.
size. of the
Yeah, that's
coma.
what he said. Yeah,
That's insane.
due to the reactions that are taking radiation reactions that are taking place, I guess, between the two huge objects. So that's amazing. So God help us. This is huge.
God help us, pretty much.
God protect us, because this could be anything.
I was
And it's
reading. Go ahead.
yes,
I was reading another scientist about Avi Loeb's perspective and basically how he kind of skewed the information to go towards the alien theory. And
yeah, that's been discounted, I think, by now.
very
The alien.
eye-opening in terms of how people will use probability. So having studied statistics, right, in my graduate school, how people will use probability to try to convince you that it has to be aliens.
Yeah. There you go. So it's
And one
think over
scientist was
here.
saying that that's kind of a sad fact for a scientist to just go to that possibility. Just because you don't understand something, you don't understand a composition of something, and it's unusual, it's different. You need to be more open-minded in terms of understanding this is coming from somewhere else. And so, if it's unusual,
Yeah, it's
let it
very
demonstrate itself.
agenda-driven science, which
Hmm.
is prone to having bad results.
So, you're
Similar
going to provide
to
the link to this app
Darwin's
for.
Darwin's theory, right? Like all
Mhm.
of our science on evolution is based on Darwin's theory of what is Darwin's theory of
Evolution.
evolution? Yeah. So, and it's based on a false premises. So all the results are skewed or unreliable. And this is similar with regards to the alien conspiracies. Anyways, interesting. Yeah. So this is on. If you want to find this website, it's called theskylive.com. So it's amazing, and you'll find different comets, and you'll see their path through the solar system, I guess. But yeah, it's quite an amazing application, and it
The
really shows us.
report. Maybe you can post to the report that came out of the James Webb Telescope in case if people are interested. And it's a long paper on basically what they were able to detect in terms of what the elements that were there, and then like the different ratios and the graphs that we put up. Those are from that paper. In case
Okay, I'll
somebody
put the
wants to
link
read more.
to both those on the description page. Right, and this is an artistic rendering of the nucleus. So we don't know what shape, the exact shape of the nucleus, but we know that the whole, the plasma surrounding, it's kind of like circular. Is that correct?
I don't know that it is circular.
Carbon dioxide. Well, yeah. Anyway, it looks circular.
I think
Could
that
be
the gas shape is
spherical.
circular,
Yeah.
is spherical because of the way the electromagnetic poles work in together, and so the gas surrounds it because of the equal forces. But I don't believe that the nucleus, because the nucleus is a solid substance, it doesn't have to be circular.
Okay, so any take-home points with regards to prophetic implications that you want to mention before we wrap up?
Well, I think that, I don't know. I mean, maybe nothing happens. That's a possibility, right? But it is possible that this does affect our electric system. I mean, it could affect the satellites. It could affect our internet. It could affect. I mean, you had that, when Spain all lost all its power at once. I mean, you could have something like that happen, and it sounds like you could have earthquakes. You could have shifting of plates, and you could also the scientists also said you could have effect in the water, different on the tides and things.
And not to mention the possibility of pollution entering, like these nanoparticles entering our atmosphere some way or another, causing pollution, impacting the oxygen levels and so on, and
Hmm.
purity of oxygen and our ability to breathe. I know that there was one prophecy that I've got on my channel. I can't remember exactly from who it is, but it does talk about something, an apocalyptic vision related to people having difficulties breathing due to the pollution from an asteroid or a comet. So
Yeah, you would think that
that's what came to my mind
interesting.
when I found out about that. Yeah, I can't remember exactly who it is though, who the seer or mystic is.
Well, one of the things I found about Three Eye Atlas is named after Atlas, right? And it was interesting to see. So that is a newer telescope that was put in 2015 in Hawaii, and it takes 3 pictures a night um, of the night sky. And I read that it is somewhat limited in terms of how much space that it can cover, right? So, I mean, if you imagine, it's not getting a 360-degree image, right? It's checking
Mm,
different spots of the sky, and then each night probably rotating a bit, right? And then coming around. Um, and one of the points that scientists was made is that they they spend more time detecting these things coming that are going to be on the orbital plane than things that would come like from top down, because it has a much less
mm-hmm.
probability of having something significant happen if it came from the top down. Um,
Right.
and so because of this, it just kind of it makes you realize that these things can come into our universe, whether they're comets from our own solar system or outside of our solar system, and they can come in any direction. And so you could have asteroids or comets come in, and you could have colliding objects as God wills. And I always think, gosh, if I were a scientist, this would be so much proof to me that God exists. Um,
Yeah.
because there's things coming in and out of our solar system all the time, So, you know, Abby says, "Oh, well, this is proof that this is from the aliens because it's traveling on the plane of the
Yeah.
orbital plane," and it's like, well, I'm not sure that's
It's
the
all, it could
conclusion.
also be proof that God is bringing, a sign or a warning for us or a harbinger for us to prepare, because we've seen it. You mentioned Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Aztecs, that they received a huge comet in the sky, and that signified the end of their civilization. And it's happened previously throughout history where comets or asteroids or signs in the skies symbolize the end of a civilization, or
Yes.
something ominous. So I don't think we've seen something this huge in our solar system before. So this is a huge wake up call at the minimum, at the least. So
It's
this is
and
definitely
it's
a harbinger.
And it's interesting that as modern civilization that we have this capability to see the things in the sky that we weren't able to see before. And so number one, we have warnings of things. And number two, we get to have maybe see signs that other civilizations weren't able to see. Or maybe this is that we don't pay much attention to the night sky. I think about that a lot. Like,
Mm,
you go outside and we have so much air pollution, light pollution that we can barely see the sky. And I had gone to the Grand Canyon once, and the driver took us to go see the Milky Way, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you can see the Milky Way!" I mean, it was incredible. With our naked eyes, we could see the Milky
yeah,
Way, and I
amazing.
never would have seen that if I hadn't have been there. And so there's a lot of things that we don't see because we don't look up.
Exactly. All right, so this is it. Thanks for the update, Patricia, and we'll keep on looking at and updating you on whatever we find uh, worthy of updates in the future, because this is an interesting story.
It was very interesting, indeed.
All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. Till next time, God bless everyone, and
God
take
bless.
care.